The night we touched the moon. The summer of 1969, it felt as if the whole world stood still. Across America, from quiet little towns to bustling cities, everyone was waiting for a moment that no one had ever truly believed possible. Mankind was about to set foot on the moon. At that time, I was just a child, but the memory of that night has stayed with me vividly to this very day. My entire family gathered in the living room. The black and white TV sat neatly in the corner, its antenna needing constant adjustment just to keep the picture clear. Neighbors came over too, because not everyone owned a television back then. They brought pastries and hot coffee, as if it were a small celebration. Outside, the streets were quieter than usual. Everyone was indoors, eyes fixed on their screens. They say that night, more than 200 million Americans were watching together, a number never seen before. And then, the image appeared. Neil Armstrong stepping down the ladder, his boot touching the dusty surface of the moon. The footage was grainy, shaky, but it was enough to make the entire world erupt with emotion. He spoke the words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." I looked at my father. He sat completely still, his eyes locked on the screen. My mother reached over and held his hand. She whispered, "I can't believe it. They actually did it." One of our neighbors began to cry, while we children jumped and cheered, not fully grasping the meaning of it all, but knowing deep down that we were witnessing something miraculous. That night, in bars, in restaurants, in neighborhoods across the nation, people hugged one another and cheered as if it were a great holiday. No one cared about differences or divisions. For one rare moment, the world felt like a single family, all looking up at the same sky, all sharing the same pride, the same hope. Years later, I came to understand that the moon landing wasn't just a triumph of science and technology. It was a triumph of faith, of imagination, of boundless human ambition. For me, as a child, that night planted a seed. The belief that anything, no matter how impossible it seemed, could someday come true. And perhaps many Americans of my generation have carried that same seed within them throughout their lives. July 20th, 1969 was not just a milestone in history. It was a shared memory, a moment carried in the hearts of millions of us. And what about you? Do you remember where you were that night? Do you remember how you felt when you saw that first step on the moon? Share your story, because I believe every personal memory adds its own light to a night that will never be forgotten.